dedicated to the mayoral race. Before I get into how we'll actually operate, can I have any representatives that are running for the city school board stand up real quick, please? We do have some, and what's your name, sir? I'm sorry.
My name is Adil Bagiro.
Adil Bagiro, and yep, your name, sir?
Walter Hickman.
And Walter Hickman. Thank you both for coming out. I'm sorry we did not feature your race, but
We're also sorry.
please feel free.
Guys, why?
I'm sorry, we didn't have enough time. But please, thank you for coming, and please feel free, anybody in the audience, we'll have a little break in between segments here. Please feel free to ask them questions. I hope they let me say that, but we kind of want them here to, because it is another important race. However, we chose to focus on these two in our community. So, to begin with, our moderators this evening and our timekeepers will be coming from the Dayton Area League of Women Voters. So can we give them a round of applause also? Miss Janet Hess will be down here in the front. She'll be doing the timekeeping for us. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to answer a question. Miss Valerie Lee will be our moderator. And Miss thank you, Valerie. And Miss Sue Hesselgasser helped bring them all together tonight. So thank you again, ladies, for coming out and helping and being a biased voice in the community. Now, real quick, you guys have a hotline that people can call. What is the number to that again? Okay, so if you are not sure about your voter registration as it is right now, and you're wondering where you have to vote and all that stuff, or all those things, the League of Women Voters has a hotline, 228-4041, that you can call to find that information out. So, and they did bring voters guides, so feel free to pick one of these up. They're on this table, as well as some other information from some of the candidates. So again, we will be starting with the commission race. I would like to first introduce our first candidate, David Estradi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I suppose take your pick of where you're going to sit. We will be doing this in alphabetical order the first round, and then we'll be alternating as they go. Okay. Thank you, Megan and Val. I'll keep with the candidates, but then I have a housekeeping note. The next candidate is David Greer. He is with us this evening and will be sitting up here answering questions. Jeffrey J. Mims, Jr. I believe I saw him running around here somewhere. And Joey D. Williams. These are the candidates. There will be 2 candidate spots. There are 2 spots open right now, so on November 5th, 2 of these gentlemen will become either renew their term or become our new city commissioners. So we have some questions that people submitted, and thank you everybody that submitted questions beforehand. However, you will notice on your table there are some note cards. Those are for you to use as you need. If you need more, let us know. We'll make some stuff happen. But if you have a question that comes up, we will have 3 UpDayton members walking around collecting those. One will be Sky Lance Wagner, who is sitting right here. He'll be, just raise your hand and one of these gentlemen will get it. Chad Kingsolver in the back there, and Tyler Starline right here. So you can ask either of those gentlemen or just raise your hand and they'll grab your question, and we'll make sure it gets up to Miss Valerie here. So, gentlemen, for your information, Miss Janet will be the timekeeper, and when you have 30 seconds left, or do you have signs now, don't you?
I have a 1-minute sign and I have a stop sign. Tell you what, I'll leave the 1-minute sign up for 30 seconds. When it comes down, you have 30 seconds left. How's that?
And she's strict, obviously. She doesn't mess around. So the first rotation will be a little bit about yourself, 2 minutes about yourself, and then we'll start with the questions that are taken from the audience and the previously submitted ones. So now I'll introduce or let Miss Valerie Lee come to the podium here.
Go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay, good evening. We are happy that you came out on a rather chilly evening, and this is really an important race, so we want to make sure we get right down to business. We'll start with the introductions in alphabetical order, starting with Mr. Estradi. Do you want to take a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself?
No.
Okay.
I was joking. My name is David Estradi, and
I'm not going to tell you where I'm from.
Figure it out, so. And I think at this time, okay, never mind. All right, we'll get started then. Our mayoral candidates are Nan Whaley and AJ Wagner. If you all don't already know, I think some people probably do. So we'll let Valerie get back to it.
All right, we're going to start with the 2-minute opening statement, and I promise I will not forget the closing statement this time. So can we start with Mr. Wagner with your 2-minute opening statement? Do you know the series with the timekeeper here?
I do.
And she will hold up a card to let you know. You want to explain your role?
Thank you.
At 1 minute, I will hold up this, it will stay up for 30 seconds. When I put it down, you have 30 seconds left.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll let you start.
Thank you, and thank you to UpDayton for holding this event tonight. You know, when I got into this thing back a year and a half ago, I was convinced that my resume would be important in terms of presenting myself to the community, presenting myself as a candidate for mayor. I think my education degree and my teaching experience matter in terms of working with schools and working with education. I think that my work as a county auditor allows me to understand government finances and how they work and what we do. I used to be a certified government finance official. I also think that my experience as a judge for 10 years has given me a lot of skills and information and ability to handle our criminal justice system, the crimes. I work with the police, and I understand a whole lot of issues in terms of foreclosure and other things that come before the court. But nothing has changed on all that, but everything has changed since I found out about 6 weeks ago that we have lost 9,000 jobs. 9,000 jobs in the past 5 years. We can't do anything if we can keep losing jobs. We've lost 700 in the past 2 reporting months. That's a net loss of 700. 9,000 jobs, if the average pay was $40,000, means that we lost $9 million in tax revenues. A huge part of our tax base. No wonder we can't keep up on the vacant properties. No wonder we're having to lay off police and fire. No wonder we're finding ourselves in financial struggle. Now, the state government has hurt us. John Kasich's plan has hurt us. But we're hurting ourselves by not pursuing aggressively enough jobs for this community. We cannot change our situation unless we change the way we pursue jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Ms. Whaley?
Thanks to UpDayton. You always have your candidates nights where there's alcohol. I don't know what exactly that says about us, but I'm Nan Wiley, Dayton City Commissioner. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be your City Commissioner for the past 8 years. I really decided to run for mayor because I thought we needed a mayor that would be full-time, have energy and follow through, and be focused around a plan. And so that's why in the primary I put together a plan, a roadmap for a new Dayton, and the first thing in that plan on January 31st, I announced the jobs plan. Because I recognize that we need to have a mayor that is focused around creating jobs and really using our assets and leveraging our assets to create jobs. Around our greater downtown, and the greater downtown plan, around water, around our manufacturing base. Those are the key points that will really, and others, will really make sure that we use our assets, the unique assets that Dayton has, to create and grow jobs in our community. Also in the plan is our neighborhoods are key. You know, I've had a lot of experience working in our neighborhoods in the city as a commissioner. I'm proud of that work, right-sizing our housing stock, working to rehab some housing, and then also making sure that our community works together to revision some of our neighborhoods, and continuing to work that effort is key, I think, for the future of the city. And then finally, being an open and vibrant community. I'm proud of the work that we've done from Welcome Dayton to the LGBT community, and being a progressive and open voice, I think, is something that's key to the city of Dayton and the city of Dayton's future. It helps make sure that we are the place where young people come to and live, and it's something that we can truly grow. I'm proud of the works that we've done on creating a walkable and bikeable community and the leadership I've provided there. So that's why I've decided to run. If you want to read all 11 pages, you can head to nanwhaley.com/roadmap. I'm sure it'll be a thrilling evening for you, and appreciate this opportunity to talk to you tonight.
Thank you. Let me reiterate that we do want to hear from you, the audience, so if you have questions, please write them down and get them to the front, and we will ask the candidates your questions. But we will start with Ms. Wiley, and the question is, you each have served in an elected office before. How will your experience in that office contribute to your goals as Dayton's mayor?
We have 2 minutes?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think one of the key points of being a city commissioner is recognizing that it takes the entire commission. Then it's been a great opportunity and honor to work with the fellow commissioners and recognizing the city manager form of government, that to make change you have to have the consensus and support of the other commissioners. And I'm proud to have the endorsement of the other commissioners. And when I worked on my plan, I also made sure that they agreed with it and supported it, because I wanted to make sure it was actionable and stuff that we could work on as a community after election. That's also been really key in working a legislative process, because when you're working to advocate ordinances and resolutions and to create policy, I think that makes it key when you're mayor, you can really work those efforts as well. But finally, I think the key part on my position at the city commission and working on the city commission is I know this city, and I know it from all parts of it. I've been walking the neighborhoods for the past 8 years. I've been active in the community, and that's been a really, I think, key point that people say to me, you've been around, you've been here, you know what the issues are facing us, so it's nothing really new, and I know that what the new Dayton can be. I know we have a lot of work to do, and we need a mayor that uses their voice to really work and really champion this community, but you also have to recognize and use to its great benefit the city commission, and I am keenly aware of their power and their ability to make a difference in this community.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you. I also am aware of the legislative process and how it works. I did spend 10 years as Montgomery County auditor, worked well with other county officials, and in fact became the president of the Montgomery County elected officials at the time. I also, as judge, became a member of the Ohio Council of County Officials, where I became vice president, and worked not just with them, but that was a lobbying body for all of the county elected officials around the state, and we did our lobbying and our work with the state legislature there. And I am confident that if I'm elected, I will have absolutely the ability to work with and enjoy the relationship with all 4 of the candidates who were up here tonight and the other 2 city commissioners. I've been around here also as an elected official. I've represented Dayton for 20 years as an elected official, and I know Dayton well. My wife and I have lived here for 40 years, raised our children here. We've lived in 4 different neighborhoods, and we're very familiar with this city. We love this city, and I think that what I bring to it is not just the leadership experience I've had in those county officials, but also the leadership experience I've had within the city. I've worked as a legislative aide to the Dayton City Commission. I've worked in the city manager's office. I've worked as an employee in the planning and development department as well. I've also been chair of our civil service board, and I've been a representative of the city to the RTA board. I'm currently sitting on the advisory board of the Dayton Mediation Center. So I've been a volunteer and very active in the city government, but I've also been an advocate and volunteer of many, many charities. I currently sit on the board of the Artemis Center. I sit on the executive committee of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm a member of Think TV's Visionary Society. I'm also on the board of Greater Dayton Christian Connections. So I have a lot of experience here that I can bring to bear.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. The UpDayton annual report identified sustainability as an important factor that contributes to the attraction and retention of young adults. What efforts to promote sustainability will you champion if elected to office? Also, how will you contribute to improving neighborhoods and empower residents to do the same? Mr. Wagner.
Okay, let me start with the young professionals, especially since that's the group we're speaking to. I think that one of the most important things you'll find in my plan, which you can find on my website, AJ Wagner for Mayor, you will find, if if you go down to the issues portion of the plan called Renaissance Dayton. It is important that we create jobs in this community. And nobody creates more jobs, I don't think, than young people who are ambitious and thinking enough to try and get some things done and to build careers and to make things happen in the community. I am convinced that some of the best things we can do are to develop a venture capital pool of money. My goal is to raise $100 million in venture capital. I'd like to start with the seed fund that's with the Jobs Ohio folks. They currently provide seed money to Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, but so far we've been shut out because we don't seem to work well with that group. We need to work better with that group, and we need their help. It's having that venture capital available that will allow us to create jobs and to create new businesses that young people can do. And I'll tell you, there's another real important thing coming up, and that is Obamacare. And I know some people don't like it, but one of the key things that that's going to do for a lot of young people who are working in businesses now, it's going to allow them to free up and move from that business and open their own business. One of the things that has always been a deterrent for young people to open their own business is that they won't have health care. And Obamacare is going to cure that for us. We're going to have the ability now to have our young people open businesses. And I think it's terribly exciting. And with getting a pool of money available for them and getting them the ability to open their businesses, this community is, jobs growing part of this community is going to be terribly exciting.
Thank you. Ms. Wiley?
So I think there's 3 areas on sustainability that I think that are really key in the city of Dayton. Some of them I've provided leadership on, and some of them I want to continue to work on. First, I think the work that we've done as a community to be a bicycle-friendly community and walkable. Those have been huge assets for the community, and we've really seen the way that we redesign our streets. If you're really interested, there's a great 15-minute TED Talk on my Facebook page that's done by the head of transportation in New York City, and we've taken some of those ideas to really work to make sure that the downtown and our rest of our neighborhoods are key for walkable and bikeable across the city. And so I'm really proud of that work and want to continue to do that. Across the city too, I think one of the key things that we're trying to work on and need to continue is the reuse of our brownfields. You know, we were a huge industrial space, and in the deindustrialization and the changing of manufacturing, we have a lot of brownfields, and the city continues to work and reposition those brownfields to create jobs down the road that is a sustainable, more economical, not eating up greenfield space. And so we have a key place in the region and the city to do that. And then finally, using our water for not only its the greatest resource we have with the aquifer for our drinking supply, but using it to create opportunities for geothermal and heating and energy. And if you read my plan again in the neighborhood section, I talk about how neighborhoods can use this to be a sustainable source long term, especially with large older houses that we have. I think there's opportunities for geothermal districts across the city and neighborhoods, really creating a sustainable way that we could heat some of these large, beautiful houses. That's one of the challenges we have coming forward. So on the sustainable piece, I think that's really key. Neighborhoods, we have worked hard to make sure that we communicate more. I think we have to do more to really have the conversation, get more to the grassroots, and talk to neighborhoods about how they re-envision their community. So I think that that's the other key point, is having that conversation.
Okay, Ms. Wiley, I'm going to ask you the next question first. The city is undertaking an initiative to demolish vacant and or unsafe properties. My question is, what will happen to these new vacant lots? Might there be potential funding available for community groups or organizations like UpDayton to transform the vacant lots into useful community spaces? What do you think would be the best use of these spaces?
I love this question. I'm proud of the work that we've done to get rid of vacant spaces that were really a problem in our community. Properties that, if you're next door to a vacant property that is unsafe, it makes your neighborhood, it makes you unsafe, and it also is a danger, and it also holds your housing value. So having that vacant lot is a much better situation than having the vacant house. Some of the things that I think we can do, we have nearly 100 urban gardens across the city, and really working to make sure that they are more sustainable and have more community buy-in, I think, is key. we've also offered free water to certain gardens, and that's one of the, I think we're one of the few cities in the country that offers free water to certain urban gardens, to really try to, again, use our water source and use that opportunity to create spaces for urban gardening. And I think there's great opportunities and partnerships with UpDayton and other places about urban agriculture. The University of Dayton invited us, commissioners, and to a conversation about really urban agriculture, which is something where I think we're really starting to talk about with larger spaces and seeing if there's opportunities to deal with food deserts across our city, but also provide sustainable food sources for local food places and really providing those food opportunities. So we have really just scratched the surface, I think, on urban garden and urban agriculture, and there's lots more work that can be done. And I think really, we have land and we have that resource, and so the limit is really just the possibility of what people can create. UpDayton has done great work from working with activated spaces and other projects in ways that I don't think, if we're just sitting around a room at City Hall or across, even at the partnership, I think really engaging with UpDayton to see these ideas and see how we can make them grow, I think is really key. And so definitely would like that partnership to go forward with our neighborhoods and urban gardening.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Well, certainly urban gardening is part of the what we need to do. I have proposed again on my website, you'll find an agricultural plan that directs itself to urban gardening and to how we can not only have gardens but also some animal husbandry, et cetera, within our community. I'm really a fan of beekeeping right now with the condition of bees in our area, and I would also like to see other small animals in a controlled environment that we could also raise and put into our open spaces. I think it's important to use those spaces, though, not just as gardens and a community gathering place, but also as a recreational place. And I've talked to philanthropists who I'm hoping will eventually consent to getting architectural drawings for small playgrounds that can be put on these places as well. And to have a garden adjacent to a playground so that families can go work in the garden while the kids can play on safe, low-maintenance equipment that can be placed near the gardens. And then to have trees and other kinds of flora in that area where the play things are that are labeled and that are instructive to children so that they understand what these trees do and how they work and how the whole ecosystem works and how the gardens work with our ecosystem. Within the gardens themselves, I hope to have nutritional information that allows, again, our young folks to understand, and old, the nutritional value of the food that they're growing and how that really helps the entire community. So I'd like to see it more interactive and more complete, I guess, in that sense.
Okay. Mr. Wagner, we're going to start with you on this question. Can you explain the city's decision to eliminate an annual $50 property tax credit for senior citizens and the disabled?
No. You make a promise. You make a promise in order, really, it's kind of a bribe. In 2006, well, this actually started 30 years ago, to get senior citizens to vote for an increase in our income tax, and it was a temporary increase of 0.5% in our income tax. What they offered was, what the city offered was a $50 reduction in your property tax every year. It was for seniors and disabled folks. The reason they did it was because seniors and disabled folks don't really pay the income tax. Social Security checks and retirement checks are exempted from paying the city income tax. The result is that if you want to get people to the polls to vote for this tax, you better give them something that gives them motivation to come to the polls. So that's what they came up with. Give them $50 off their taxes every year. So when we went through a financial crunch a couple of years ago, as we were losing 9,000 jobs, the city said, okay, we're going to take back that money. Now, the people voted it in. They voted for it. But the charter language that they voted for wasn't specific. It just said that the city could offer a tax reduction. It didn't say how much, didn't say when, it didn't say. Although the material that they passed out was very clear. You're going to get $50 off for the next 8 years. Well, now they took it back a couple years ago. So now they'll go 3 years without it, and next year, we have to go back to the taxpayers and ask them to renew that 0.5% again. If they say no, because we don't have the bribe to give them anymore, if we give them the bribe and they say, oh yeah, we fell for that one once. If they say no, we're out $20, $25 million a year. We are in trouble. It makes no sense to me.
Ms. Wiley?
In 2011, when we were going through, the whole country was going through the greatest recession since the Great Depression, we were also hit with a $9 million cut from Governor Kasich from the local government fund. And the city had to make some very tough decisions during that time. The city manager put out a partition report with 39 actions that he was recommending. Some of those actions included privatizing ambulance service, street light assessments, raising the income tax. And we went out to the community and discussed with the community what they wanted us to do. And we heard very clearly that the community wanted to keep their services and that $50 a year was what they were willing to take. We appreciate the shared sacrifice. It was a tough decision. It's governing, it's leadership during those times, and there was a shared sacrifice across the city. Our city employees took pay cuts and furlough days, the city commission took pay cuts, and the city citizens took their fair share too. So since this happened, when we had these conversations, and it was in the Dayton Daily News and other papers, not a single person came to the commission and spoke on this issue until this election. And still to this day, the only people that have come to discuss this to the city commission are people working on Mr. Wagner's campaign. Now, I appreciate that. I appreciate the tough decisions we had to make during the Great Recession, and tough decisions were made by everyone. And when people were really in their families and in their communities worrying about jobs, this was one of the decisions we made. And it is a tough decision that we wish we didn't have to make, but during the greatest recession since the Great Depression, we all shared in the sacrifice together.
Thank you, Ms. Whaley, and we're going to give this next question to you to start. The long-term mayor of Dayton, Ryan McMahon, was known throughout the state as a cheerleader for the Dayton community. Mr. Leitzel, as mayor, had a very different style and approach to the office. Describe how you see the role of mayor and how you will operate if you assume that office.
Well, as I said before, when I was deciding to run, I thought it was important that we had a mayor that was full-time and provided energy to the community and to the whole region as well as the state. And so as commissioner, I'm proud of the work that I've done to represent the city across the state, but the mayor and the bulletin pulpit is a key position. And so I would use the office to be full-time, to work to really advocate for the city day and night, not only in the city of Dayton, but across the region and across the state. It's important that we have our voice here, and I think we have great opportunities for manufacturing, like I mentioned before. And there's huge opportunities to really work to create jobs and have relationships with businesses. And so I think that that's the key difference that I bring to the table that I would focus in on, is specifically around working with businesses and creating jobs. So that's how I would use the role of mayor in a more aggressive way.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Yeah, well, I also would, use this for creating or working with businesses, and not only businesses in the region and in the state, but internationally as well. When we get international business in here, when we get business from outside, and we can sell to other areas of the world, the jobs that brings usually generate about 15% more in salaries than jobs that people who work domestically. So it's important that we be aggressive not only here within a region and within our country, but also outside of our region and outside of our country as well. We can develop an international business program, and you'll see that in my Renaissance plan, is that we want to develop an international partners as well as local and regional partners. I also want to work with businesses locally. I want to make sure that we're meeting with business leaders here on a regular basis, at least every couple of months. And I want to go and make sure I visit with our largest businesses at least once a year and talk with them and develop a relationship. 9,000 jobs didn't just walk out of here because of the depression. NCR didn't leave because of the recession. Heidelberg didn't leave because of the recession. Merrill Lynch didn't leave because of the recession. Thompson Hine didn't leave because of the recession. These are all companies and firms and folks who left because they didn't like doing business in Dayton anymore. And we have to develop relationships with these folks and make sure that we keep folks here. We have to be ahead of their game. We have to know if they're not happy with things so that we can deal with those issues and try and make them happy with them. We can't step in when it's too late and they've made the bids and they've made the decision and it's gone. We have to have a relationship that's ahead of that decision making. The record that this commission has shown in the last 5 years shows that we aren't taking care of business. And if we're going to be serious about taking care of business, we've got to develop relationships now.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. We're going to let you have this next question first. You both have plans, but it takes 3 votes to get things done. Convince us that you're going to be able to use your powers of persuasion to get people to follow your lead in order to get something done. And do you have any plans to change the charter?
Okay, the first part of the question is, I hope I can be persuasive. I've certainly spent over 35 years as an attorney trying to be persuasive to people. Even as a judge, sometimes you try to be persuasive to convince people they've got to follow the law. You're always trying to be persuasive in some form or another. I certainly, as I said earlier, I know all the commissioners and I know all the candidates, and I believe I can work closely with them. And it's about making a clear, concise, and logical argument that's hard for them to rebut. And I'll tell you what, if they can't rebut it, then I better rethink my position. And I'm okay with that. I think that's important to hear from them and to understand what's going on. Otherwise, we can't build the consensus that we need. So I'm willing to do that, very willing to do that. Now, the second part of your question was?
Do you have any plans to change the charter?
To change the charter, yes. There are some definite ways I'd like to change the charter. Actually, I owe some of the thinking to David Esrati, who's sitting here, so I'll give him credit right now. The charter, it does not allow for real citizen participation. The charter, if you want to get a citizens initiative on our ballot, good luck with that, because the charter requires, if the commission won't do it, then the charter requires a 10% at first, and then it's 15%, so it ends up being 25% of the registered voters. Well, on the registered voter rolls are always people who've long since left the city, or students at UD or whatever, and so getting 25% is next to impossible, so we can't do we can't do citizen initiatives. I really think that's a key thing that we should have in our city, is the ability of citizens to participate in our government and to have some ability to make some difference on their own. And that means that we have to change the charter, I think, for that.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley.
One of the key things I've learned as being on the commission for 8 years is that you really have to work at building consensus. And so I think the best way to give that example is an example that happened a few months ago with the vacant property registry. Commissioner Lovelace came forward with a registry that was really, I don't think, the ability for us to really enforce it would have been very difficult. And so really decided to work with the folks at Legal Aid and able to get to a place where we could enforce the registry, have the registry in place to help our neighborhoods, and come to an agreement and consensus with him working that process. And I think that's what I've really learned as a city commissioner, is that it's great to have positions, but it's really more important to know how to work and know what's really motivating your colleagues and what's important to your colleagues so you can get to a quality outcome. And that's one of the best things I think that I've been a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of it on the city commission, is that consensus building and working to really, unlike some of the other federal, my way or the highway, really getting it done in local government by reaching consensus, by working together, and I'm proud of that record I have. I think they would all say that about me. The charter question, I think we really, it's been 100 years since the charter was written, and we've made some small changes to it, like, they had the margins had to be a certain way because it was typed and some of those changes. But I do think it's probably time for a charter committee to really have a discussion about what should be changed and shouldn't be changed, because it needs to be looked at as the whole document and really what's the future of us. And after 100 years, I think that's the opportunity to do that. I think that should be a community effort, not necessarily a commission effort. And I think the commission should instill a charter committee to look at that and see what the next 100 years holds for Dayton.
Okay. Next question, we'll start with you, Ms. Wiley. Our community has suffered from the effects of mass incarceration. How do we best reintegrate offenders into our community once they have served their time?
There's a couple of things I think that are key, and this is a tough issue for not only the city of Dayton, but the whole county. They talk a lot in the Ex-Offender Reentry Council that it's in every zip code where ex-offenders are, and so really the work is for the whole county that needs to happen. First, I think it's been even tougher because of the recession on ex-offenders, and so creating jobs and having a mayor that champions job creation will help, because rising tide does lift all boats. If there's more jobs, that's a great opportunity for all of our citizens. And then there's also a Legacy Cities report, and I like to look at legacy cities because they're Midwestern cities that are similar to us. It really talks about cities need to do work on creating jobs that not only are the innovation and technical jobs like we do with UDRI and those areas, but also making sure there's a band of jobs that are entry level that pay a decent wage. And that's really key not only for ex-offenders, but for lots of folks that are marginalized in our community. And so that is a place that we can, I think as a city, we have to pay specific attention to. And really reading the Legacy Cities report that Olivia Brockman wrote had really showed that. I think that's one piece that we have to really work at as a city, because the rest of the region isn't paying great attention to that, and it affects a large portion of our community. That is hard to do, but I think there's great opportunities, especially with manufacturing and the background we have in manufacturing, as well as opportunities in call centers and other ways to really increase the band of those kind of jobs that would be key to our citizens. And I'm looking forward to working on that.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. I've worked on a couple of boards that have looked at reentry, including Workplace Reconnections and PowerNet. And I've worked also with the county on when they were beginning to get the funding. I've worked with Commissioner Lieberman and her assistant to try and help look at how we can better do reentry. One of the key things, I think, or one of the key elements of any program, though, has to be at some point eliminating the felony from record. We have young people who do stupid things, and it's throughout history. But young folks who are 18, 19, 20, go someplace and they pick up a raw piece of crack, and next thing you know, they're being arrested as they drive home and forget to use a turn signal or something. And next thing you know, they've got a felony on their record, and the next thing you know, they're living the rest of their lives in poverty because we don't forgive that one incident. We won't forgive it. We are commanded to forgive in almost every major religion. That is part of who we are. We are a forgiving people, but we won't forgive felonies. So a young person who gets into a little bit of trouble when they're young, ends up with a felony on their record, and when they finally get a job, they work that job and they go for the promotion, they won't get it. When they work that job, they don't get out of poverty. They can't do any better. And even though they've turned their life around and they're not the person they were when they were 18, 19, 20 years old, they're now 50 and 60 and they still can't get a decent job. That's just not right. We have to collaborate with our other mayors and our other major cities, because this is dragging our cities down. The number of felons that we have are hurting our cities and causing major poverty.
Thank you. And Mr. Wagner, we'll start with you for this next question. In 2011, the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission adopted the Complete Streets Policy, which encourages planning offices to incorporate multimodal transportation into roads and other transportation infrastructure plans. This includes increased biking and walking options, both of which are high priorities for young adults who wish to live and work in Dayton. How will your role in office support the Complete Streets Initiative?
Yeah, I will support it. I absolutely support the bike lanes and what's been done so far, and I support mass transportation. As I said, I was on the RTA board. I worked on the RTA board. I was very instrumental in saving the trolleys, the electric trolleys, because of their energy impact at the time. we had a director of RTA back when I was on the board in 1980 that wanted to get rid of the electric trolleys. But the electric trolleys not only are less polluting and helpful to our environment, but they provide important mass transit within the inner city. And I was instrumental in being part of Save Our Trolleys. The other thing that we have to look at is light rail. I am saddened by Governor Kasich's decision to get rid of the high-speed rail potential that we had for our community, and I would like to think that we could bring that back some way, somehow, somewhere, and get some of those dollars back. But I would also like to think in terms of how we improve our mass transit so that people don't have to use their cars as much. It's important when I say all this, though, to know that our primary goal still has to be the creation of jobs in the inner city. When we've got 1.5 million square feet of vacant office space downtown now, we really don't have the core that can create that kind of system. So we have to now, as we spread out and allow spreading out to occur, we end up with a very disparate transportation system that is not energy efficient, that is not conducive to our environment. And we have to use as part of our argument to get jobs back in the center city that notion that it's very energy efficient to do such.
Thank you. Ms. Wiley?
Well, I'm really proud of the work that I've done as a commissioner on the Bike Walk Task Force, and yes, I support complete streets fully and actively. I think that what we've done so far in the city is really scratch the surface on what we can do on bikeability and walkability, and I'm excited for some of the things that we can continue to do to grow that. I also think that they do have opportunities to create jobs and create spaces that people want to be in, and I think that's really the difference in thinking of what your streets can do and how you create those streets to create retail opportunities, to create the feet on the street that creates those small businesses and jobs and that kind of space that people want to be in. And not only just young professionals, but I think we're seeing that in cities across the nation, the ones that do make their streets more bike friendly and more easy to walk. We find that they see an increase in their retail, they see increased job creation, and that's really it can be a huge game changer for a community. So I think we've made some good first steps in the city. You can see it on the Brown Street, complete streets, where we're really trying to do traffic calming around Brown, move the traffic to Main, and create the more easy to walk and obviously bike. We need to do more of those opportunities to create those retail nodes, because bikeable and walkable make retail nodes, and then also the connectivity across the city and across the region is key. We have 350-some miles of trail. It's a huge opportunity for us as the only real urban space in that to really create that niche along those trail systems. And so it's just something we shouldn't pass up and we should be active in.
Thank you. And Ms. Wiley, we will start with you for this next question. What do you think are the city's best and worst attributes? And if elected to office, how will you use those strengths to the city's advantage or transform those shortcomings into opportunities?
I think the best asset that the city has, in addition to the strength of the character of its people and really traveling through adversity, regardless of the earnestness of our community, that if we do the right thing, work hard and play by the rules, we're going to move ahead. I think the natural asset we have is our water and the river. And I'm proud of the work that the community has come together to create the river run. I think it's going to create huge opportunities across for us in downtown. We've seen this in other cities that have worked well, and just seeing what's happened at Eastwood Metro Park so quickly with that small area as well as in Springfield, having that downtown in the urban area, I think is going to be just a great asset for our community. So I think along the river is our greatest potential, and not only for in the river, but along the river from Brown Street on the Stewart Street where the University of Dayton is working, all the way to downtown and even up north. So that's why I was a part of creating a group called Ohio's Great Corridor, where we work with the 15 communities up and down the river, because we recognize that working together we can create unique spaces and really make a regional asset. And that's just, I think, a really key part for downtown and the whole city, because the river is such a key part of who we are. I mean, really, we've been talking about looking toward us. I think we really are starting to do that, and it's very exciting, and I think it can be transformational in the next decade. Our weakness is that we have had a huge change in the kind of manufacturing we have had, along with other cities in the region from Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan. And so transforming our economy while still not turning our backs on manufacturing is just very important when we want to grow jobs. And so that's probably our biggest weakness that we have to really work on, and having a mayor to champion that and work on that very hard is going to be key.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner?
Best and worst, I would have to agree that best, of course, are our people. I mean, we're blessed with 141,000 people who still are here. That's just sometimes a phenomenal kind of thing, the resilience. And look at this room. I mean, we've got young people who are coming back and who want to stay here and who want to try and make a living here. If we can get more of that, we're going to be good to go in the future, as long as we can create the jobs for them to stay here and work here and be part of this community. But we've got to create the jobs, and that's where we come in with our worst attribute. We're not doing it. Part of our problem is, I think, and one of our worst attributes is we don't sell ourselves very well. We don't do a good job of marketing. We are just, we put some things out here periodically, but we get a nice kudos in some magazine that says we're one of the top 10 or anything, and that's about as far as it goes. We'll get something in the Dayton newspaper, and we'll get something in maybe a national magazine, and that's about as far as it goes. We have a website, and the web presence is hugely important. If a business wants to relocate, if they say, look, let's look at the Midwest, what do we got in the Midwest? And they go to our website, and you punch in Google and City of Dayton, go to the website, go to it tonight, and see if you can figure out what advantages you have coming here as a business. See how you can do that. It's not easy. We should have at the top of that website the advantages of being here as a business. Why this is the great place to live, work, and play. Why this is a place you would want to bring your company. Why this is a place that's not just an inexpensive place to bring your people, but the quality of life that you can have, the short commutes, the easy way you can transport up and down 75 and across 70. Those are the things that make this community attractive to businesses. But if you go to our website, good luck.
Okay. Mr. Wagner, this is a final question that I will start with you. All candidates talk of jobs, jobs, jobs. To attract businesses, lucrative tax exemptions have been used as an incentive, thus robbing the community of needed tax revenue. Tell me what you think of that strategy, or do you have a better strategy for bringing businesses to Dayton?
So the number one strategy to bring businesses to Dayton is good customer service. We have to provide businesses with good customer service. We have to make sure that they feel like they belong here, they're wanted here, and they're wanted to be a part of this community. Tax incentives are important, and they do help attract businesses, but that's not their number one reason for going to communities. That's kind of icing on the cake, and if you don't give them some kind of tax incentive, they'll feel like you're not serious about wanting them. But the truth is, what they want more than anything is they want good customer service. They want their calls returned. They want to know that they can have a relationship with their elected officials. They want to know that they can go to somebody when they've got an issue and have it looked at and taken seriously. They want to be treated fairly, and that means you can't go out, as Mr. Zright pointed out earlier, and take 16 trucks of dump from one business while you don't do that for the other businesses in the area. That just ticks them all off. And they think of more reasons why they should leave the city rather than stay in it. We can't have the kind of city that where it takes over a year just to open a coffee shop. Just to open a coffee shop in a retail area. It takes over a year to get the right zoning and the permits and everything else. That's just crazy. It shouldn't be that a bakery that wants to reopen on Troy Street should have to put in a whole new hot water heater when the old one works because the inspector said so. Because when the owner said why, he said, well, do you want your occupancy permit or don't you? Who treats businesses like that? And why do they stay? We're lucky we've got as many businesses as we do, but we're losing them fast. That's why we're losing the jobs. That's why we lost 9,000 jobs in in these last 5 years. That's why we lost 700 in the last couple of months. And that's why they're leaving. We want good customer service.
Thank you, Ms. Whaley.
I think that unfortunately tax exemption isn't the icing, it's the cake. And that's what's happened across the country now is that you know, they start with tax incentives for new business. And it's unfortunate, and the discussion needs to get to a higher level. When you see Greensburg, Indiana beating Lima, Ohio, because Ohio didn't give them enough tax incentive, I think that that's where the issue is a problem and something that the states really have to figure out. We also have to do a better job of not competing with others on tax incentives so we hurt our schools. And it's a balance for us to be competitive and remain to be competitive in downtown, because a lot of times we do lose businesses because neighboring communities will give them better tax packages. And so that's a challenge for us because we want the businesses to stay in the city, but we also have to recognize that we have to provide services, and specifically when tips and tax incentive programs happen, they hurt Dayton Public Schools first. And so that's a balance that we have to continue to work to be aggressive, but then also recognize that we need the much needed funds for our community. When every community across the country loses jobs because of the Great Recession, that is when you really look to see the financial management that we've had in the community. And I'm proud of the work that we've done. Cities like in Pennsylvania and in Michigan have gone bankrupt, but our city has increased its bond rating during this time. And so really, without raising taxes, and I think that's really an amazing feat. So I think we're positioned well. We have a lot of work to do in building services and with our small businesses, and I recognize that. I think a mayor can really use the bully pulpit and use the position to really make some changes in the city, and I plan on doing that. But to throw it all out because of a couple of things we need to work on, I don't think is the answer. And so that's why I really put the jobs plan together and really want to work hard to make a difference there.
Okay, thank you. And can you start with your closing statement, 2-minute closing statement, Ms. Whaley?
Well, just want to thank UpDayton. I think you're all asleep now from the beer and the nice talk. All right. But I'm going to thank UpDayton. When UpDayton started, I was the first commissioner that was first elected, and to see the number of young professionals and young people bring energy back into our community has been something that has just been amazing to see, and it's been a great partner with the city. When Scott Murphy and Katie Crosby worked to start the organization and came and showed the annual report and the opportunities we had for the city, I think it helps give the commission direction on what young professionals want and need and how we can really grow young people living in our city. And it's helped me as a commissioner to really figure out ways that we can create more bikeable, walkable spaces, to create more urban spaces for gardening, to be more open and helping the city to see the opportunities of painting places that are open spaces, and bringing vibrancy back into the community. And when I put together the roadmap, the last part of being an open, vibrant community, there were two things that were really driving it. The Welcome Dayton work from being an immigrant-friendly community, and then also this vibrancy piece of being open to everyone in the community, young and old, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of your diversity, because recognizing that coming together is what makes our community so strong. And I think UpDayton has really embraced that and celebrated that. I want to thank you for being a partner in that effort. I hope to earn your support. The election is just 12 days away. I'm asking for your support for mayor. I'm excited about Dayton's future. I think our best days are ahead of us. That's a really important point. And working together, I know we can make a city that we're all proud of and have a say in. And so I'm asking for you to be a partner in that effort and asking for your support this November 5th. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. I want to, no questions came up about education, so I'm going to take this moment also to thank Joe Lacey, president of our school board, the Dayton School Board, for being here, along with Edu Bongroff, who's here as well and running for school board. And I want to thank them for being here and their interest in the city. I want to work closely with them when they get reelected to the school board, or elected and reelected to the school board. I also want to thank UpDayton, of course, for what you're doing in the community, not just this forum, but what you do day in and day out. And Laura Estendia and her leadership has been just wonderful. Estendia, I apologize. It is about jobs to me. it is about what we do from here on out. If we're going to save this community, if we're going to make it work, and I believe we can. It has to be with jobs. I intend to put in place a leader in our administration that is from business, that looks at business, understands business, knows business, talks business, walks business. That means somebody who comes from outside probably, sorry David, and who is a business leader and understands all of those things. And also knows customer service, can do solid customer service training. I want to pick up from the county. I've been working with the county on the Montgomery County Futures Project, and I want to pick up on the research they've done. They've just completed a study with St. Onge. That's a firm that looks at how we can bring businesses here. They've got 60 specific points that they make about how we can bring businesses to this community, and I want to activate those 60 points to make sure that we're doing everything we can. The city did a study 4 years ago called the Matrix Study. It recommended 25 things about how we could better interface with businesses. We've done about 4 or 5 of them in those last 4 years since we've had that study. I want to make sure we do all 25. We have to get business back into this city.
Thank you. Thank both candidates. It's another thing to be a very well-informed voter. So my applaud to, I applaud UpDayton for sponsoring this forum and thank all of you.